Welcome back, students. Today we are going to discuss Unit 4 Organism and Environment Part 3. Before I start the main content, I would like to inform that the images used in our slides are for education purpose only. We respect intellectual property right of the original creator and owner of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this PPT, have any concern, any issue, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. In this particular video lecture, we are mainly focusing on these points: population, interaction between environment and population community, biotic community, interaction between different species, biotic stability, changes in the community. First, let's understand the term population. Population means individuals of any species live in a group in a well-defined geographical area, share or compete for similar resources, potentially interbreed. So that kind of individuals, collectively we can use the term for those individuals, population. So population must contain similar kind of individual of a given species who are able to live in a group in a defined geographical area, share or compete for similar resources. And this is another very important point: they must interbreed. So although this term interbreed implies sexual reproduction, means a group of individual resulting from even asexual mean also. Normally interbreeding means sexual reproduction. But if some group of individuals potentially use this method, asexual reproduction is also generally considered as a population in this ecological studies. Like all the cormorants in the wetland, they comes under a population category. A certain kind of rats which are living in a defined area. Teak wood tree in a defined forest area, bacteria which are present in a culture media, lotus flower, lotus plants in a pond. These are comes under a population examples. So similar kind of individual belong to a same species type, and those are having interbreeding capability, right? So they are comes under population. So what is population ecology? This is another term related to this topic, population ecology. Population ecology is therefore an important area of ecology because it links ecology to population genetics and also with evolution. Population ecology is an area of science, area of ecology in which different population genetics and evolution related studies occur. Now let's understand some terms, some attributes which are mainly used to define a population. So a population has some kind of birth rate and death rate. Population has some birth rate and death rate. In a population, these rates refer to per capita birth or per capita death, respectively. Rate means change in number. It may increase or it may decrease with respect to the total number of population, in a given time. So rate means change in number, maybe increase or maybe decrease with respect to total number of population. Now birth rate. Let's understand the term rate. If there is an example, if in a pond there are 20 lotus plant last year, and through reproduction 8 new plants are added per year, what is the birth rate of total this lotus plant. So how we can calculate? For birth rate, we just put change in birth divided by initial number. Change in birth divided by initial number. So this is how we can very quickly calculate the birth rate. Similarly, for the death rate. Death rate also, how can we calculate? Death rate is equal to number of individual die divided by initial population. Like I have given you one example over here. If 4 individuals in a laboratory population of 40 fruit fly die during a specific time interval, say in a week. Okay, what is the death rate in the population during that period? So number of individual die 4, right? Divided by initial population means 40. Okay, so this is how we can calculate death rate also. Next, sex ratio means number of female per capita of male. This is how we can calculate sex ratio. Means an individual is either male or female, but in a population, if we want to consider analyze the data with respect to the population, that in that case we must calculate the sex ratio, not the individuals. So that time we have to calculate this sex ratio, means 60% of population are female and 50% are of male, like this. Okay, similarly another term which comes related to this population is age distribution, means percent individual are present in a given age group, younger, children, or old. Okay, so for human population, the age pyramid, these 3 are the examples of different age pyramid. Age pyramids are generally shown age distribution of male and female in a combined diagram. Okay, the shape of pyramid here, these 3 pyramids show the growth status of population. There are 3 type of scenario. First, when there is a growing stage. Okay, whether the population of a given community or given area or of a village or a country is growing, or it is stable, or it is in a decline phase. How we can calculate? For that, we need to understand that we have to calculate first of all the number of individuals present in pre-reproductive age. Pre-reproductive age. If that number is more as compared to reproductive one is less. Okay, and obviously this one is post reproduction, means old people, those are not able to reproduce now. So this is the pink one is the level for all those. So this is the old population, this is the reproductive age population, and this is the pre-reproductive age. So if pre-reproductive is more, then after 10 years they all comes under this category. So if pre-reproductive is more, then obviously when they come at this reproductive category, then all of them are in reproductive phase. So population expand itself, right? Population will get increase, right? But if the reproductive age and pre-reproductive age of the people in a defined area are same in number, that is not more than reproductive age, this pre-reproductive one, that time when it comes to this category, then the number is same. At this position also, this time we can say this type of population is stable. There is no increase in population. Okay, but if number of pre-reproductive age group in a defined area is less than current reproductive age, less, then after 10 years when this will come at this particular position after 10 years, then reproductive age group is less. Then in this situation, what we can say, this type of, if pre-reproductive is less, means number of pre-reproductive younger one are less as compared to reproductive one, in that particular area, population is in decline phase. Okay, in decline phase. So these three are the growth status of a population. We can compare when population is in growing phase, when the pre-reproductive one is more as compared to reproductive, then it is expanding itself. The population of that particular area will get increase. If both are in the same number, then the population of that particular area is in a stable form. And but the pre-reproductive number is less than reproductive one, then population after 10 or 20 years decline. Okay, so these are the shape of pyramids that reflect growth status of a population. Now, what is population density? Population density means number of individuals per unit area. Number of individuals per unit area. Like Parthenium, it is a name of a plant, a very small plant, and a Parthenium plant which is very small one, and a single huge banyan tree which is larger one. Area covered, if we compare both the things, number of individual per unit area. Parthenium, little area, plants, okay, but single huge banyan tree, single, but the total biomass is more than so many Parthenium plant. Okay, so we cannot compare these two. Okay, in bacteria we can compare bacterial count, number of colonies after 24 hours. These type, if we count the colonies on a particular nutrient agar plate, we can just count the population density of that particular bacteria in a given plate. Fish, number of caught fish per trap, means if the size of a pond is this much, if we caught in this particular area, then we can multiply by the total area of that particular pond. Okay, tiger, how we can compare the tiger mass, tiger density? Directly we cannot. Nowadays drones are there and other techniques develop so much, but initially and right now also, people who are involved in this bioconservation and forest reservoir and all those involved in this type of work, they just count the pug marks of the tiger and the fecal pellets present near the riverside. This is how they compare how many tigers are there in a given forest area. Okay, but in this particular case, we cannot, like single huge banyan tree is is enough as if we compare the biomass. Okay, now population growth. The size of population of any species is not a static parameter. It keeps change with time depending on various factors like food availability, predator pressure, and adverse weather conditions. So, if we say that initial population, we can use a term N. This N denotes population, T means initial population, but after some time, NT plus 1. Okay, so if N is the population, as you can see in this particular picture, population density in a given area is this N. If more individuals of the which used to live in that particular area give birth more, their natality rate is high, then how it give its impact on the population? If more birth rate is there, then it will increase the population density of that particular area. Similarly, if more individuals comes and start living in that particular area. Immigration, that time also it will increase the population density of a given area. Immigration means incoming. Okay, but if more individual exit, e-migration means you just compare it with exit, e-migrate, then in that case it will decrease the population density of a given area. And similarly, if that rate or mortality is high as compared to natality, then in that case also population density will get decreased in a given area. So this is the relationship between these four things: natality, mortality, immigration, and e-migration. Okay, so after some time, what is the how we can define the growth rate? Initial population NT plus B plus I means B means natality plus immigration minus mortality plus e-migration. If this factor is more, then obviously growth is high. If this factor is more, then we can say growth is not high, it will decline. Okay, so this is how we can calculate the growth rate of a population in a given area. Okay, in a stable population, birth rate and growth rate, or both the things, birth and death, are equal in number. That time we can say population is stable in a given area. Okay, while in a newly colonized population, if immigration are there, then it will increase the population density. Okay, clear? Now, so now let's understand. Already I have told you I have already explained all these four terms, but still just once I'll read these lines. Natality means number of birth during a given period in a population that are added to the initial density. Mortality, number of death in a given population in a given time. Immigration means incoming means number of individual of the same species that have come into a habitat from somewhere else during the time period under consideration. E-migration is the number of individual of a population who left or exit. Here, incoming. This is how you can differentiate between immigration and e-migration. This is I, incoming I, right? E-migration E, exit. Okay. Now let's understand the population growth model. Exponential growth means when the resources in the form of food or in the form of space are unlimited. Only in that situation exponential growth can possible. But is it possible? Unlimited time, unlimited food for everyone. After some time, in a given in a given habitat or in a given area, after so many multiplications and so many individuals, obviously space will get decreased for each one, and also resources will be decreased after a passage of time. So this is a hypothetical situation that resources are unlimited. Okay, so if resources are unlimited, then population grow in an in an exponential method or geometric fashion. Okay, so if in a population size, if population size n, birth rate, if we represent the birth rate as b, death rate as d, then increase or decrease in this n means population during a unit period of time means t, means dn by dt will be this. dn by dt is equal to birth rate minus death rate into initial population. Okay, and if we consider this b minus d is equal to r, then dn divided by dt is equal to rn. This is the formula. Okay, what is this? This is rate. Okay, rate, or we can say increase or decrease in population size in a given time. is equal to Rn. Now, next is logistic growth. Logistic growth means it explains the actual reality happened with the growth. It says that no population of any species in nature has its disposal unlimited resources to permit exponential growth. This lead to competition between individuals for limited resources, right? So eventually what will happen? The fittest individual will get survive and reproduce. The remains are extinct or disappeared with the passage of time. Okay, in nature also, nature select only those individuals who are able to survive in the changed environment and reproduce well. Okay, so only fittest individual will get survive and reproduce. In nature, a given habitat has enough resources to support maximum possible number, beyond which no further growth is possible. Let us call this limit as nature's carrying capacity K for that species in that particular habitat. So a population growing in a habitat with limited resource and show initial lag phase means slight slow multiplication, slow growth, followed by a phase of acceleration means rapid growth, and after that deceleration, and finally a asymptote when the population density reach the carrying capacity. Okay, so let's discuss that particular graph which comes in a sigmoid form, a plot of n in related with in relation with time. This is a sigmoid curve. This R1 is J-shaped in a ideal situation when there is exponential growth, unlimited food and space are there. If then continuously initial lag phase and continuously increase in population occur without any problem. But this is not possible. Okay, nature has a capacity to carry some individuals. After that it already declined. So this phase is known as lag phase, then followed by log phase in which exponential growth occur, and after some time stationary phase means after reaching a carrying capacity it will reproduce in a specific manner. Okay, so this curve is known as sigmoid curve. Okay, in ideal situation J-shaped structure, but in a realistic situation sigmoid, S-shaped or sigmoid curve. Okay, now so n, what is this n? N is population density at a given time t. Okay, R intrinsic rate of natural increase. Okay, means birth rate minus B minus T. Okay, and this K is carrying capacity. A, this red graph A, when responses are not limiting the growth, in that situation plot is exponential, J shape. B, this S sigmoid, when responses are limited. Okay, responses are limiting the growth, and in that case plot is logistic or sigmoid. Okay, what is this K? K is carrying capacity. Since resource for growth for most animal population are become limiting sooner or later, the logistic growth model is considered as more realistic one, which already we have discussed. Okay, so this is the graph. Now let's discuss life history variation. As you know, population evolved to maximize their reproductive fitness, also called Darwinian fitness, high R value in that habitat in which they live. So, as Darwin suggests that only those individuals are able to survive which are reproductively fit with changed environment. Okay, only that kind of individual are able to survive. Others are get extinct. Nature उनको वैसे ही हटा देता है. Clear? So, under a particular set of selection pressure, organism evolved towards the more efficient reproductive strategy. More efficient reproductive strategy. Some organisms breed only once in their lifetime, like this Pacific salmon fish. And in plants, bamboo plants, they have this quality, reproduce only once in the lifetime. Okay, some others are reproduced many times, like bird and mammals comes under this category. Some individuals reproduce large number of small size offspring, like some fishes, ostrich, very small size of offspring, while others reproduce a small number of large sized offspring, like again bird and mammal. So different individual, different species adopt a different kind of method to show its reproductive fitness and for the survival. Okay, so ecologists suggest that life history traits of organisms have evolved in relation to the constraint imposed by abiotic and biotic component of the habitat in which they live. Now let's understand the population interaction between two species. Okay. So interspecific interaction arises from interaction of the population of two different species. They could be beneficial, means plus plus, or neutral, means no harm, no benefit, or neutral or harm. Okay, so if we can a sign for benefit, negative sign for detrimental, and 0 for neutral interaction. If we use this plus for beneficial interaction, negative for detrimental or harm, or 0 for neutral reaction. So on the basis of this, we can classify some kind of interaction between individuals. Mutualism, when both the species get benefited. That time species A and species B both get benefited. So plus plus sign is there. Okay. Competition, any type of competition, there is a harm for both the type of things, prey or predator. So negative. Okay. Competition, harm to both the individuals, for species A also, for species B also. Predation, one is getting benefited, okay, while another one getting harm. Okay. Parasitism, again one is getting benefited, another one is getting harm reaction. Commensalism, CA, how we can remind this commensalism and amensalism? CA, C means plus. We usually write down these sign plus minus like this. So CA. So C plus A minus. Okay. Others are neutral. B species, there is no reaction, neutral. But in commensalism, species A get benefited. And in amensalism, species A get harm. Okay. Feel harm. Okay. So these type of relationship or we can say population interaction occur between different population group of various species. Let's discuss all these type of interaction in detail. First is mutualism, both species get benefited. So plus plus. Competition, both lose in their interaction. Parasitism and predator, only one species like predator, like parasite or predator, get benefited, while other means host or prey get detrimental response, harm. Commensalism, CA again, C means plus. Okay, so one is neutral, another one is benefited. Okay, commensalism, one is neutral, another one is harmed. Okay, predator parasitism, commensalism share a common characteristic. Predator parasitism and commensalism. What is that common interaction? This interaction, they actually interaction species live closely together. Parasitism, specific host, predator, specific prey. Okay, similarly commensalism also. Another one is only those type of species come with this any individual who are benefited with the another one. Let's discuss all these things with certain examples, all these type of interaction. First is predator. What would happen, just think, if all the energy which is fixed by plants or autotrophic organisms is there, if there is no community present on the earth to utilize that plant. Overcrowded, if jungle or overcrowded dense forest would develop in that particular area. So predator is also important to channelize the energy from one level to another level. Okay, say it is the predation as a, it is already written over here, predation as nature's way to transfer energy to the next trophic level, which is already fixed by the plant. Okay, there are certain examples of this predation like tiger and deer. They are readily come very quickly come if we are talking about predator, very quickly tiger, deer, lion, another herbivore, rabbit, like this. But sparrow, if eating any kind of seed, this is no less as a predator. Okay, although animal eating plant are categorized separately as herbivore, but they are also in broadly, if we think about it, they are also not very different from the from predator. They also transfer energy from one level to another level. Okay, so besides acting as a conducts or channelize the energy from one trophic level to another, these predator also keep this prey population under control. Okay, but for predator, prey species could achieve very high population density and cause ecology instability. There are certain examples like prickly pear cactus. Okay, this prickly pear cactus introduced into the Australia in early 1920. After their introduction, they cause a havoc by spreading rapidly throughout the field. So if there is no prey, they continuously grow and create a certain kind of havoc. So invasive cactus was brought under control only after cactus feeding predator from its natural habitat was introduced in the same country. There is a moth who actually act as a predator for this plant, prickly pear cactus. Okay, so after its introduction, uh, those the government further realized that this very quickly create a havoc or mess throughout through millions of the hectare of the land in Australia. They then further introduce its predator moth in that area. So after the introduction of this moth, it will control the this cactus. Okay, so this is known as biological control. Okay, this biological control method adopt the agriculture pest control are based on the ability of the predator to regulate the prey population. This is one of the example. Predator also help in maintaining species diversity in a community by reducing the intensity of competition among competing prey species. Another example, in American Pacific coast, the starfish Picester is an important predator. In a field experiment, when all the starfish were removed, more than 10 species of invertebrates become extinct within a year because of interspecific competition. Okay, so this is another example showing the importance of predator. Okay, if predator are not there, then more than 10 species of invertebrate become extinct because of interspecific competition. So if the predator is too efficient and overexploit its prey, then prey might become extinct, and following it, the predator will also become extinct for lack of food. So only predator um, caught or kill only that amount of individuals as prey, um, which is necessary for predator survival. Okay, so this is the reason why predator in nature are prudent. Prey species have evolved various defense to lessen the impact of predator, like some insects, some kind of frog are cryptically colored or create camouflage to avoid being detected easily by predator. Okay, so this is how prey start develop a kind of defense system to protect itself. Some prey have a poisonous glands also. Some are poisonous, so predator avoid to kill them. One of the very good example is monarch butterfly. This monarch butterfly is highly distasteful to its prey, which is a bird, sorry, because of its special chemical which is present in its body. Okay, so this butterfly acquired this chemical during its caterpillar stage by feeding on a poisonous weed. So this is how this prey protect itself from its predator. Next is competition. Competition, interaction between two species. This type of interaction, as Darwin spoke about the struggle for existence and survival of the fittest in nature, he was convinced that interspecific competition is a potent force in organic evolution. It is generally believed that competition occurs when closely related species compete for the same resource that are present in a limit, that are limiting. But this is not entirely true. Generally, it is true that competition occur between closely related species for the same resource, but this is not entirely true. Firstly, sometimes totally unrelated species could also compete for the same resource. Like in this South America lake, some visiting flamingo and some resident fishes compete for their common food, zooplankton in a lake. Okay, so these are not closely related. One belong to bird category, another fish. They are, and this flamingo are visiting. Okay, they are not closely live together in a defined area, but their resource, their food is same. So for that they are compete and they show competition with each other. Secondly, resource need not be limiting for competition to occur. In interference competition, another term interference competition, the feeding efficiency of one species might be reduced due to interfering and inhibitory presence of another species, even if resource means as a food or a space are abundant. Okay, means if two species are there in a given area, but one is able to utilize the resources very fast, then another one is not that much fast. In that case, the second type of species show a kind of depression. Okay, so there is this is not exactly true that competition is there between two species for food and space. If both of these things are present in enough amount, means present in abundant amount, that time also, if feeding efficiency of one species is high as compared to another one, that time also um, it comes under competition category. Okay, so what is the best way to define competition? Competition is a process in which fitness of one species is significantly lower in the presence of another species, only in the presence of. Then also we can say there is a competition between two species. Food is enough, space is enough, but fitness of one species is significantly lower only in the presence of another species. Then also we can say competition is there between these two species. As Gauss explained, one experiment was performed by Gauss, and he was explained that when resources are limited, the competitively superior species will eventually eliminate the other species. Okay, so the strong and another, just because of the presence of that superior competitor, the another one showing a kind of depression and eliminate or just eliminated from that particular area. Like in there is an example for this tortoise which are present in Galapagos Island. Abingdon tortoise. It's a very important example. Abingdon tortoise, these are present in Galapagos Island. Initially, they become extinct because of the presence of goat. Goat were introduced in that particular island in a bulk amount, and this is tortoise, slow eating animal. So just find out the presence of this goat, which are superior in in feeding and other utilizing the resources. Just because of the presence of this goat, this Galapagos tortoise become extinct within a decade. Okay, so competition occur between these two too. So there is another term come with this type of interaction is competition release. Competition release means when a species whose distribution is restricted to a small geographical area because of the presence of competitively superior species is found to expand its distribution range. Okay, when the competing species is experimentally removed. When we compare these two, this superior barnacle dominate in a particular area and exclude the smaller barnacle from that particular zone. Some experiment also performed by Gauss, this is known as competitive exclusive principle. And this competitive exclusive principle states that two closely related species competing for the same resource cannot coexist indefinitely, and the competitively inferior one will be eliminated eventually. Okay, this may be true if resources are limited, but not otherwise. One mechanism is resource partitioning, in which two species compete for the same resource. They could avoid competition by choosing different time interval or different parts. Like in a particular tree, if so many bird population are there, so to release their competition, they can do this thing, resource partitioning. One type of species can decide to choosing feeding time in the morning, another one can choose feeding time in the evening, or different type of parts like fruit or nectar or these things, like it is written over here na. Two species compete for the same resource. They could avoid competition by choosing different time for feeding like morning or evening, or different forage pattern. So this is how they can separate out their resources. Okay. MacArthur, another ecologist, shown that five closely related species of warblerbirds living in the same tree were able to avoid competition and coexist due to their behavioral difference in their forages activity. Okay. Now next is parasitism. Parasitism, also this is known as free lodging and meals. Many parasites or have evolved to be host specific. They can parasite only a single species of host in such a way that both host and parasite tend to co-evolve. That is, if the host evolve a specific mechanism for the rejection or resisting the parasite has to evolve mechanism to counteract or neutralize the reaction which is developed by the host in order to successful host parasite relationship. Okay, parasite evolve specific adaptation like loss of unnecessary sense organs, presence of adhesive organs or sucker, adhesive organ or sucker to cling to the host, loss of digestive system as already endoparasite getting already digested food, so they don't have digestive system. Okay, high reproductive capacity. So this is how parasite also adapt themselves. Okay, so the life cycle of parasites are often complex, involving one or more than one host or vector to facilitate parasitism of its primary host. There are certain examples like human liver fluke, dependent on two intermediate hosts. One is a snail, another one is fish to complete their life cycle. Similarly, this malaria parasite need a vector, mosquito as a vector to spread into other host. Right? So majority of parasites harm the host. They may reduce the survival, growth and reproduction of the host and reduce its population density. Parasites that feed on the external surface of the host organism are called ectoparasite, external surface. What are the examples? Lice on the human, ticks on the dog, these are comes under ectoparasite category. There are certain marine fish also are infested with ectoparasite copepods. Cuscuta, this is the example of ectoparasite. These are found and grow on the hedges plant, as it doesn't have chlorophyll. It lost its chlorophyll and leaf in course of evolution. So it derive nutrition from the host plant. Okay, Cuscuta is the example of ectoparasite in plants. Okay, female mosquito is not considered as a parasite, although it need our blood for reproduction, but it is not considered as a parasite. Now let's discuss some example which are comes under endoparasite category. Endoparasite means some organism live inside our body or our body part, different location like liver, kidney, lungs, red blood cells, etc. And the life cycle of endoparasite are more complex because of their extreme specialization. Their morphological and anatomical features are generally very simplified. Okay, there are certain kind of endoparasites. Okay, like nematodes, certain nematodes and other belong to that particular category. Okay. Brood parasitism, another term related to brood parasitism. The parasitic bird lay, in this particular case, this parasitic bird lay down its egg in the nest of host bird, and let the host incubate them. During the course of evolution, the eggs of the parasitic bird have evolved to resemble the host egg in size, color, shape, and other things. So the host bird detecting the foreign egg as its own one. Okay, and so this is how this type of example comes under brood parasitism category. Another type of interaction comes between two different species is commensalism, in which one species get benefited, another one is neutral. So one species benefited, another one is neutral. Okay, like orchid. This orchid growing as a epiphyte on mango plant. Another barnacles. These barnacles growing on the neck of whale. This is whale. These white spots. These are barnacles. Okay, back of the whale benefited, while neither mango nor this whale drive any kind of benefit from these things. So orchid get benefited, barnacles get benefited, but mango or whale showing neither harm not any kind of benefit. Similarly, another example, cattle ergot and grazing cattle. These ergot always forage close to where the cattle are grazing, because the cattle, they move, stir up and flush out the vegetation insect that otherwise might be difficult to find out by these ergot. So they just follow the grazing cattle. Okay, जहां जहां वो पैर रखेगी वहां घास झुक जाएगी, मुड़ जाएगी, उन्हें इंसेक्ट्स अच्छे से दिखेंगे और वो उनको खा पाएंगे. So this is another kind of relationship between comes under commensalism category. Similarly, sea anemone and clownfish. As you know, the sea anemone has certain kind of stringing tentacles. Okay, so this fish get protected from their predator, which stay away from the stringing tentacles. This is the clownfish and this is the sea anemone. Okay, so a sea anemone doesn't appear to drive any benefit by hosting the clownfish. So these are certain example. First, second, third, and fourth comes under commensalism category, where one species benefits, showing benefits, while other one is neither harm nor benefited. Next type of interaction is mutualism. This interaction confer benefit of both interacting species. So plus plus, like lichen, like mycorrhiza, like plant animal species. There are three examples. 1, 2, and 3. Lichen, interaction between fungus and algae. Okay, interaction, algae give its food, fungus give mineral nutrition. So both are getting benefited. Mycorrhiza, association between fungus and roots of higher plants. So fungi help in absorbing essential nutrition, while plant give it give its nutrition. Okay. Plant animal relationship. Plant need help of animals for what? For pollination, right? And dispersion their feed, and animal need plant for its survival, herbivore mainly. Okay. In many species like fig tree, there is a tight one-to-one relationship with the pollinator species of wasp. Pollinator species of wasp. It means that a given fig species can pollinate only by its partner wasp species, no other one. The female wasp uses the fruit not only as a oviposition sit but use the developing seed within the fruit for nourishment of its larva. The wasp pollinate the fig inflorescence while searching for suitable egg laying site. That insect need a flower, okay, a type of flower which is suitable for its egg laying position, right? And it utilize that particular developing seed for of the food for nourishing its flower. And this is how when it move from one flower to another flower, it just uh, pollinate the its pollen grains, right? So in return of the favor of pollination of fig, offer the wasp some of its developing seed as food for developing wasp larvae. Another very interesting example is Mediterranean orchid ostrich employs sexual deceit to get pollination done by a species of bee. As you can see in this particular picture and this particular picture, you can see both the things are a little bit similar. As in this particular picture, one leaf of this plant, this orchid plant, is very much similar to this insect. Okay, so one petal of its flower being and showing a resemblance to the female of the bee in size, color, and different kind of marking. So male bee is attracted to what it perceive as a female for pseudocopulation with the flower, and during that process is dusted with the pollen from the flower. When this same bee pseudocopulate with another flower, it transfer pollen to that flower. So this is how pollination occur. So both the prey and pest, both the things co-evolve with each other. Okay, if the female bee color pattern change even slightly for a reason during evolution, pollination success will be reduced unless the orchid flower co-evolve to maintain the resemblance of its petal of female bee. So this is another example. So this is all about the today's lecture, in which we have discussed about various interaction of various species, growth rate, what is population, and these kind of topics. I hope most of the topic has been cleared now. If you still have any query, any doubt, please let me know. We will discuss it later on. Till then, take care. Bye bye and keep learning. Namaskar.